Visión Comunal, en contacto con las comunidades.
Venezuela in the news. News from the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Headlines. Social political agenda prevented layoffs of more than 500,000 Venezuelans. Brazil tried to buy Uruguay's vote in the Southern Common Market. There's a campaign in the United Nations to degrade the Venezuelan public powers. Vice President for Planning and Knowledge, Ricardo Menéndez, announced that the Venezuelan government prevented a massive workers' layoff during the first semester of the year. Menéndez assured that nearly 500,000 Venezuelans would have been dismissed from their jobs if the right decisions would not have been made in the economic sector. Menéndez also explained that currently 93% of the Venezuelans have secure employment. The high inflation rate that closed at 180% last year has not impacted the quantity and quality of employment in the country. Official data established that only 17% of the Venezuelans depend on street peddling or informal vending of products. Menéndez also stated that if the current social policies would not have been maintained, the poverty level in the country would be surpassing 80%. The national government invests 65% of the country's annual budget exclusively to cover the social needs. Before 1999, only 35% of the national budget was destined to social affairs. Caracas has just decreed a wage increase of 50% for all workers of the public administration. The food bonus was also raised. President Nicolás Maduro duplicated also the financial assistance to the most vulnerable families of the country. Currently, nearly 11 million people benefit directly with the raise, the third one of the year and the 34th since 1999. The Uruguayan Minister of Foreign Affairs, Rodolfo Noboa, accused the government of Michel Temer for intending to suspend the transfer of the Southern Common Market's pro-temporary presidency to Venezuela in exchange for future trade agreements. The foreign minister expressed his rejection to the proposal made by his Brazilian counterpart, José Serra, who publicly suggested the suspension of the transfer, offering in exchange the incorporation into its negotiations with other countries, which Noboa identified as buying Uruguay's vote. In press conference, Serra revealed that Brazil will launch a major commercial offensive and wanted to take Uruguay as a partner. At the same time, he asked the government to suspend the transfer of the Mercosur chair to Venezuela. Brazil, Paraguay, and Argentina continue to act against Venezuela. The national coordinators of the Mercosur member countries will meet on Tuesday to address the Venezuelan issue. The government of the United States requested to the Venezuelan authorities the release of terrorist Leopoldo López. The request generated immediate rejection from Caracas, which denounced the U.S. double standards on human rights, said Foreign Minister Delcy Rodriguez. Leopoldo López, main activist of the ultra-conservative group Voluntad Popular, activated an armed subversion in 2014 to remove President Nicolás Maduro from power. His coup forces killed 43 people and wounded over 800. A lot of them were severely injured. Currently, the terrorist is serving a nearly 14-year prison sentence ratified by the Venezuelan justice. This group has just called its followers out to the streets starting September 1st. The Venezuelan government already indicated that it will not accept flashpoints for violence and called on the population to maintain peace in the streets.
Venezuela in the news.
In press conference, the Ombudsman of the People of Venezuela, Tarek William Saab, refuted the recommendation of the Global Alliance of Institutions of Human Rights made to the United Nations of degrading the Venezuelan public power to the Category B for keeping information about the crisis in the country. The leader assured that its organism takes part actively in the promotion of the humanitarian laws, so much inside as in the international forums. Saab commented, quote, "Our work is undeniable with the civil society, which can be stated since the support is documented to more than 500 non-governmental organizations in the country." Saab denounced a campaign to destroy the institutionality developed by opposing sects and mass media that intend to disorient the national public and international opinion. The Ombudsman stated that the opinion about the international organization discredits the status of the public power in the nation. The Venezuelan parliament called for an extraordinary session today to designate the representatives of the preliminary commission of the National Electoral Council. The session is scheduled for 11 a.m. local hour, according to the official agenda issued by the parliament. The parliament's ultra-conservative fraction intends to trigger the process to designate new authorities in the National Electoral Council, which is considered a violation of the Constitution. The parliament is also currently disobeying and disregarding the ruling of the Supreme Court of Justice that annulled the incorporation of 3 deputies that are being investigated for electoral fraud.
News from the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Headline: Social political agenda prevented layoffs of more than 500,000 Venezuelans. Brazil tried to buy Uruguay's vote in the Southern Common Market. There's a campaign in the United Nations to degrade the Venezuelan public powers.
Venezuela in the news. News from the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Visión comunal, en contacto con las comunidades.